Take three. Beep, beep, beep. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Theory Teacher Teacher. This is going to be Chapter 2, Taxonomy, otherwise known as What to Teach and When to Teach It. No book reviews today. Before we start off, though, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. It is my vlog, just about where I've taught and where I teach now. Currently, I teach here at the Lawrenceville School in our lovely Clark Music Center. The Lawrenceville School is a private high school. It is actually a boarding school. We have roughly 820 to 830 students. It changes year to year. I'm not saying that it changes daily. From grades 9 through 12, and we have some postgraduate students. It's a wonderful place to work. We have great students. I have facilities that most colleges would die for. I have wonderful colleagues, and it's a residential school, so we have a lot of other benefits associated with it. I won't say it's not great to have all that stuff. However, I will say you don't actually need all that stuff to be a very effective music teacher, and especially not a very effective theory teacher. In fact, before I taught here, I taught here at the Abraham Lincoln High School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Lincoln is what they call a comprehensive high school. It means it is a non-special admit, which means it's a neighborhood high school, so you get whoever comes into your catchment zone. It was a school that had a lot of challenges. It's an urban school. It had a really nice facility. In fact, it was brand new the year I started there. And there were a lot of challenges working there. I won't say, however, that it was not rewarding. In fact, I think it was really rewarding working there day to day. Not every day, but most days it was really rewarding. Having an effective program there was really one of the highlights of my career. I'm sorry I had to leave. And even before I taught at Abraham Lincoln, I taught here at Ridley High School in Folsom, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia. Ridley is a large suburban high school, and I don't want to say it's a typical suburban high school, but it is what you would expect from suburban high school. It's large, it had about 2,300 students, a nice facility. I had some very nice colleagues, and I had, a wide range of students, all of which, I still remember. Actually, I still keep in touch with some of them. So that was a great place to start working and to cut my teeth on. Had a competitive marching band, which I learned really quickly was a great job for someone who wasn't me. I liked it, but it is very time draining. So if you're a young student, if you're a young teacher and you have a competitive marching band or a marching program of any kind, I feel for you. Keep it up. You're doing great work, though, I'm sure. Enough of that. On to what to teach and when to teach it. Okay, let's say you are setting goals for your classroom and you are trying to arrange the different topics of music theory into a logical sequence to teach. I'm a strong advocate of what's called backward design, which means starting with the end and then working backwards in a logical fashion to teach the skills that you need to get to the end point. Let's say, for instance, you want your students to be able to do something like this. This is one of the free response questions from the 2012 AP Music Theory test. Anybody who's taught theory for a little while or who's taken theory, this should look pretty familiar to you, something like this. This is a figured bass example, and you can see from the instructions, their students are being asked to realize in four voices what is given here. And that is, of course, a lofty goal, but it is an important one. Now, to do figured bass realization, you need to first be familiar with 18th century voice leading procedures, or part writing, or whatever you want to call it. Now, to do that, you should probably be familiar with a lot of other things first. Some would argue that you need to be familiar with counterpoint, although I argue that you don't. But anyway, some things you should be familiar with before you do part writing are things like harmony, seventh chords, probably embellishing tones, blah, 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 and off we go, etc. This one, you can see, actually has a 4/3 suspension built into it, so you need to know what that is. So, working backwards. Start with figured bass realization. That's your goal. To do that, you need to be able to part write in the 18th century style. To do that, you should probably be familiar with embellishing tones. To do that, you need to first be familiar with seventh chords, because of course sevenths can sometimes masquerade as embellishing tones and vice versa, so you should probably be familiar with seventh chords first. You can't really be familiar with seventh chords until you're familiar with triads, of course, because triads are the building block of harmony. Of course, you can't really teach triads until you've taught intervals, because, of course, triads are made up of intervals. And to be familiar with intervals, you need to be, of course, familiar with major and minor keys, because intervals have quality as well as distance. So in order to have quality, you need to be familiar with key. Oh, and then to be familiar with key, your students should probably know the circle of fifths. And to be familiar with the circle of fifths, your students should probably be familiar with major and minor scales. And to be able to build and be familiar with major and minor scales, they have to be familiar with half and whole steps. And then to build half and whole steps, they should probably have some semblance of keyboard familiarity. And that takes you back to day one. Oh, unless you're counting the fact that they should probably be able to work in both clefs, and they should probably be able to work fluently through accidentals. You can keep going back as far as you need to and getting as granular as you need to. So that's actually a pretty decent way of arranging your year. Start first with the very basics. Clefs, note reading. And then you can move on to keyboard skills, and then you can move on to half and whole steps. I have a cheat sheet here that I'm looking at, sorry. And then you can, from half and whole steps, you can start to build major and minor scales. And from then you can work in the circle of fifths. And from then you can work into major and minor keys. And after you have major and minor keys, you can work intervals, and then you can work triads, and then you can work seventh chords, and then you can work embellishing tones, and then you're probably ready for 18th century voice leading procedures. Maybe a little before that. You might be able to do some of that once triads come about. And then finally you can get to figured bass. By the way, we didn't even talk about inversions, which is built into triads, and other things like that. You can get as granular as you want, as I said. Now, in addition to this, we have what's called ongoing skills that don't really fit into this taxonomy, but should be reinforced throughout. Skills like sight singing, dictation, keyboard skills, and even one that is often forgotten about, although not by the best teachers, composition. You should be encouraging students to compose after they have encountered a concept. They should be trying to create something original out of it. Oh, and we didn't even talk about rhythm, did we? Where does rhythm fit into all of this? Well, the answer is it fits everywhere. So you should probably do an intense rhythm study early in the course and then keep coming back and reinforcing it. Rockley, doesn't this sound like you're teaching to the test? You're not teaching to the test. What you are simply doing is using the end goal to guide your alignment of various goals in a scaffolding manner. You're not teaching to the test. Teaching to the test would be putting this in front of them the first day and giving them tricks to get through it. Don't do that. Getting them through a program of fundamental study that is logical to get them to the point where they can do well on the test, that's very different, and that's what we're hoping to do here. Later on, I'll be doing an entire video about oral skills and how to integrate them into written skills and why to integrate them into written skills. But more on that later. And by the way, what we've covered here is not an exhaustive list. We haven't even talked about form, we haven't talked about 20th century techniques, we haven't talked about counterpoint, if and when to include it. That's a whole other issue. So, there's always work to be done. Now, once you've organized these big concepts into a logical order that you think you can teach them in, it's time to look at the calendar, which is a reality that all of us teachers face. And on the calendar, you can see realistically how much time you can budget for each one of these. If your goal is AP prep, obviously you have to work backwards from the date of the AP test. Now, the other thing that many of you may be in a position to do is spread this out across multiple years. If you are in that position, that's wonderful because, of course, you can go deeper in each of these concepts. I and some of my colleagues from high school, we were fortunate enough, we had a 4-year course of study at an average public high school, actually, at good old Muhlenberg High School in Laureldale, Pennsylvania. We had 4 years of what was called major music. We didn't even get to minor scales until our 2nd year. And you may say, oh, that sounds rather boring. I assure you it was not. In fact, we went very deep on rhythm, we went very deep on intervals, we went very deep on melody, If you are allowed to spread out your curricula over multiple years, I recommend you do it. I've taught at Ridley, I had 2 years. At Lincoln, I only had 1, but it was okay. And here at Lawrenceville, I have 3 different terms that all meet within 1 year, but they're sort of intensive the way they're scheduled. So I have our course of study planned out over 3 distinct terms that students can come in and out of. It's not the most ideal situation, but I've made it work. And in fact, that's what I can say to all of you is every school has a little bit of variation on how they handle terms and scheduling, but usually you can make it work. By the way, if you're working in a school district, it's probably a good idea to check with your curriculum office. You might have something on file already for what to do and when to do it. Curriculum is not, however, lesson plans, and that's up to you, but if your school has a curriculum on file, you should probably follow it because it's probably board approved and it's probably what you should be teaching. And lastly, remember, don't do this in a vacuum. Always reach out to others. A lot of school districts publish their curriculum online somewhere. You often have to dive for it, but it's usually there. And not that you need to copy anybody's, but you can use it as a guide. Also, several textbook companies publish curriculum guides that are meant to sell their textbooks, but hey, why not? Take a look at them and see what they suggest. Also, the AP program itself often publishes curriculum guides. In fact, they publish curriculum guides for all of their test content. It's worth looking at. It may not work exactly for you, but you never know what you're going to find in there until you look. It might be a great idea. We here at the Lawrenceville School are on trimesters, which is a little weird, and a lot of public schools don't use trimesters. They use semesters or quarters. But if you'd like our program of study, happy to give it to you. Just email me. So that's it for this chapter of The Theory Teacher Teacher. As always, thanks for watching, and please remember, go forth and be musical.